My grandfather was obsessed with forgotten things. Not antiques, not coins, not photographs. He collected records. For 40 years, he worked deep inside the municipal archives of our tri-state area, buried beneath flickering fluorescent lights and rows of dust-covered filing cabinets. When the county switched to digital storage in the late 90s, entire decades of old microfiche records were scheduled for disposal. Thousands of thin, transparent sheets holding microscopic photographs of newspapers, police reports, death certificates, and court documents were dumped into industrial bins like trash. My grandfather rescued them. One cabinet became 5, 5 became 14. By the time he died last autumn, his basement looked less like a house and more like a forgotten government bunker. Olive green steel drawers lined every wall from floor to ceiling. The air smelled like mildew, rust, and burnt dust from old machines. I inherited all of it, including his microfiche reader. The thing looked prehistoric, a gigantic gray machine from the late 70s with a humming cooling fan and a glowing yellow projection screen that made every image look sickly and ghost-like. At first, I planned to throw everything away, but grief does strange things to people. Some nights I'd go downstairs just to feel close to him again, so I started browsing the archives. Property taxes from 1972, sewer maintenance reports, missing dog notices, local newspapers. Most of it was painfully boring. But there was something hypnotic about scrolling through frozen moments from 40 years ago. Entire crowds of dead strangers smiling at parades, football games, protests, town fairs. It felt like spying on ghosts. 3 weeks ago, I found the first photograph. October 14th, 1983. The Valley Ledger had covered the grand opening of a new public park downtown. The photo showed hundreds of people gathered around the mayor while he cut a ribbon, families smiling, children waving flags, confetti frozen midair. And near the edge of the frame, half hidden behind a woman holding balloons, stood a man staring directly into the camera. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't even blinking. Everyone else looked natural, caught mid-laugh or turning their heads, but this man looked completely still, like he had been pasted into the image afterward. His face was pale and expressionless. But what really caught my attention was his coat. A heavy olive green canvas car coat with asymmetrical silver toggle fasteners instead of buttons. On the left shoulder was a frayed square where some kind of military patch had been ripped off. For some reason, the jacket bothered me more than the man. It looked familiar. I brushed it off and kept scrolling. 2 nights later, I found him again. August 1986, a courthouse protest. This time he stood near the back of the crowd, wearing the exact same heavy winter coat despite the middle of summer heat. Same pale face, same hollow eyes, same rigid posture. And he hadn't aged a single day. I remember the exact feeling that crawled through my stomach when I realized it. Not fear, recognition. The kind you feel right before remembering a nightmare you forgot years ago. I spent hours searching more archives. May 1981, outside a high school graduation. December 1984, standing near a church nativity display. July 1987, visible through the window of a diner during a street festival. Always watching the camera, always wearing that coat. Always exactly the same. The longer I searched, the worse it became. It wasn't just that he never aged. The photographs themselves seemed wrong around him. In some images, people near him appeared blurred while he remained perfectly sharp. In others, shadows pointed in different directions around his body. In one photo from 1985, everyone in the frame cast a shadow except him. That was the night I stopped sleeping properly. The next morning, desperate to clear my head, I drove to a vintage warehouse on the edge of town. I've always liked old military jackets and workwear. I figured normal life might drown out the paranoia growing in my head. The warehouse was enormous, rusted shelves, flickering lights, mountains of second-hand clothing. I was halfway through a rack labeled military surplus and outerwear when my hand touched heavy canvas. I froze. Slowly, I pulled the hanger forward. Olive green, silver toggle closures. Frayed patch on the shoulder. My pulse started hammering instantly. It was the coat, not similar, not close. The exact same coat. There wasn't even a brand label inside. Just a faded handwritten tag hanging from the collar. $45. I should have walked away. Instead, I bought it. The cashier barely looked at me while ringing it up. But right before handing over the receipt, he paused and frowned at the coat. Then he quietly asked, "Where'd you say you found this?" I told him it came from their rack. His expression changed immediately, like he regretted saying anything at all. He handed me the bag without another word. I brought the coat home. The second I laid it over my living room chair, something felt wrong in the house. Not dramatic, subtle, like the silence had changed. That night I kept catching myself glancing toward the chair without realizing it. Twice, I could have sworn the sleeves had shifted position slightly. By midnight, I was so unnerved that I turned the chair to face the wall. Yesterday, I decided I needed answers. I went back into the basement with a notebook and began systematically cataloging every appearance of the man. 1981, 1982, 1983, 1984, 1985, 1986, then finally, April 1989. The newspaper article showed volunteers cleaning trash near the riverbanks after severe flooding. I slowly adjusted the focus dial until the grainy image sharpened. And there he was again, standing across the river behind a weeping willow tree. But this time something was horribly different. The coat was filthy. Mud caked the lower half like he'd crawled through wet earth. One sleeve cuff was torn open, and across the chest was a jagged L-shaped rip in the fabric. But that wasn't the worst part. His face looked terrified, not blank, not emotionless, terrified. His eyes were wide with panic, staring directly into the camera like he was trying to warn whoever viewed the photograph. My stomach dropped, because I recognized that expression. I had seen it in the mirror before. I stumbled upstairs so fast I nearly fell on the steps. I grabbed the vintage coat from the chair and checked it under the living room lamp with shaking hands. Mud stains along the hem, split cuff lining, and stitched carefully across the chest, an L-shaped tear. I dropped the coat immediately. My hands were ice cold. I sat there staring at it on the floor while every thought in my head collapsed into one horrifying realization. The earlier photographs never showed damage on the coat because the damage hadn't happened yet. The jacket in the archive was changing over time. A timeline, not a coincidence. I forced myself to breathe and tried to think rationally. Then another memory hit me so hard I almost threw up. 10 minutes earlier downstairs, before panicking, I had zoomed in on the man's face. In the older photos, his hair was different each time. 1981, short. 1986, longer on the sides. But in the April 1989 photograph, the man had my exact current haircut. The uneven one I gave myself 2 nights ago after messing up trimming my hair in the bathroom mirror. I'm sitting on my couch right now writing this. The basement fan is still humming beneath the floorboards. And a few minutes ago, I heard the microfiche reader's dial turn by itself downstairs. One click, then another. Like someone is advancing to the next frame.